I'm here to talk about ReversalRain, which is my multimedia webcomic and experimental band, and I am Llyona Fang. So a little bit about myself. So in terms of my non-artistic career path, I have a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering. So I was a STEM tutor, and I'm currently working full-time at a medical device company and starting a PhD in biological engineering this fall, which means that I don't really have that much time to do a lot of these hobbies, which is like all my passions, but I'm trying to do my best to like get the ball rolling on them. And for my creative related passions, I do a lot of music and soundtrack composition, which I started in 6th grade, 2012, and I've been a music theory teacher since 2019. I'm also an animator and illustrator, self-taught, so I just do it in whatever free time I could find. And I also do costume making, if you've been wondering why I'm dressed like a crazy person. So I started this in 2012, and in Southern California, where I'm from, the costuming community / pop culture is very popular there. So it's more of like a widely known thing to do a lot of storytelling in terms of like appearing at events in costume. And that's something that I wanted to try with my own creations, as well as doing all of the other stuff. So this whole project of mine, which you might have seen the table out there, is just a passion project of a story I started in 2014, and it's a continuous work in progress, since I am just doing it in a free time and I don't consider it to be part of my career. But I did not want to be limited to telling a story in only one kind of format, so I wanted to find a way to encompass all the different things I do under one umbrella or overarching world. And it encompasses all of those soundtrack compositions, animation, comic books, video games, costume making, theatrics, acting, creative writing, and overall trying to create an immersive experience for people to enjoy this story. Now let's go over the world building, because I believe people may be confused about what is this whole thing going on. Yes. So in the story of ReversalRain, the characters live in the era of the second lunar cataclysm. So in the year of 2202, an asteroid impact shattered the moon and the debris collided with the planet. As you could see, there's a giant gaping hole in the planet where lots of lava is spilling out. And that's just something I drew and animated by drawing a world map and projecting it onto a globe. And then the story begins 2,000 years after this happened, and that's the state of the world right now, as it's still healing from the impact of the initial apocalypse. And this causes a water world to form in which land is a pretty scarce resource, and 3 major factions of society remain. So in the aftermath of the second lunar cataclysm, there's a rise in mutations in the human population. The term that these mutants are called are extrinsics, and non-mutants are intrinsic. So there will be a lot of interplay between discrimination against these mutants throughout the story, and the main cast are all mutants called intrinsics. And furthermore, there are sea monsters called refractions that appear in reflective bodies of water, so transportation between the regions of this water world is extremely dangerous. And I drew some concept art of what the mutations look like. They mostly show up in the eyes, but can also be in other body parts. And it's patterns that don't normally appear as part of the human DNA genome. And there's like songs also associated with all these characters and themes, which is what my band is for. So let's go over the known surviving regions / factions. We have the mountain region of Jacora, which is a very long mountain range across the west side of the sea. And it has the longshore, which is facing to the east, and the mountains are on the west side. The Ark Confederation is not shown on the map, but they are the faction that facilitates trade and transportation between the regions. And the jungle region of Sibris was previously a territory of Jacora, and is a small cluster of ocean rainforests that have gargantuan trees which allow for survival in tree houses above the sea level. And the primary setting of ReversalRain takes place in Sibris, which is circled over there and barely visible. It's like small clusters of giant trees that pop up in the ocean. There's also a volcanic region because the increased seismic activity after the Earth was blown to bits caused a lot of volcanoes to pop up. So there's some areas of land that are completely uninhabitable because they're covered in magma and lava, but that exists. So let's zoom in on Sibris. This is a zoom in where you can see how the refraction monsters basically infest the waters. And the village, which is Sibris Village, capital of Sibris, is located in a port that's kind of covered by trees. So here's a zoomed-in map of Siber's village. It's kind of tied together between large trees with a lot of bridges where the citizens can walk between in multiple levels. The lower class lives closer to the water in the understory where it's more risky to be attacked by refractions and less sunlight is available, while the higher class lives in the upper levels where it's much safer. And the center of this village has a giant clock tower, which is also linked to these mechanical paddles that operate at the very bottom at the ocean surface, which churn up the water, because this keeps away refraction monsters since they only appear in the presence of still waters when they're able to kind of reflect across the surface of the calm water. And this clock tower idea was actually inspired by Vintergatan's video of the Dom Tower when he had the carillon play his music, the Marble Machine song, on the top of the clock tower. I was very fascinated by that video and wanted to put a clock tower in my village with the same instrument. And forgive me if I'm not pronouncing these words correctly. So refraction monsters are shown in this warning. They're very dangerous. The mechanics of the village are responsible for the construction and maintenance of defense systems, which in this case are the paddles that churn up the surface of the water and therefore drive the monsters away, so they're more out towards the sea and not appearing inside the village. And the main character of my story is named Melody Rain Jiayin. They're the character in the middle of that video game. And their father is head mechanic of the village, while they are an apprentice and in charge of learning how to maintain these paddles properly. So let's go over the characters now since I touched on that. Whoops. Oh, it keeps going to the next slide. Okay, let's talk about Melody, who goes by Mel. They're an artist and musician and mechanic in training. So although their duty in this village is to serve as the mechanic's apprentice, maintaining the paddles that keep the village safe, their real passion is to try and pursue music. So they join the school band with some other kids, although they have duties to learn how to do mechanic jobs with their dad after school. So let me read a synopsis of their character. The oldest child of the village mechanic has a strong fascination with science and the arts and loves to explore the world around them. You might find them looking up at the rain, climbing up a tree to sketch the sunset, or hear the faint harmony of piano music in the distance when they're in a creative mood. They may or may not be the perpetrator responsible for vandalizing the understory's trees with various carving patterns. Like many others, they fear the darkness below the understory and its deep waters, but you'd have to give them some credit for helping their father maintain the paddles that churn the ocean's surface. Be wary. They might throw you a clever prank or sneak some notes out of your woodwind instruments when your attention is elsewhere. Okay, so this character's main instrument and leitmotifs are done on piano / vibraphone and other mallet percussion instruments. Since I write my music to have different instrumental groups to represent what each character does and their personality. So let's move onward to the next character. His name is Lucas Sota Yoku. And let me read his synopsis. He is a musician, archer, and wannabe entertainer. The son of the village doctor isn't interested in following his father's footsteps, but loves to make the world a happier place with his frivolous entertainment. You might find him acting out a funny story while he grabs a drink at the Queen Bean or singing along to the faded tunes of some old record player. The calls of his flute seem to speak to the birds in the sky, seemingly calming the wind for just a moment. While he may be an adventurous hunter when he climbs atop a lofty branch and patiently aims his arrow at quarry, he dares not to venture below the understory. In fact, he hates the thought of getting caught for breaking a rule. You could say he might just get a little ticked when peer pressure breaks his goody two-shoes aura. Let me know if I'm talking too fast, by the way. Is everything good? Just checking in? Okay. So our third character in the story is Renee Igni Lopez, who is a technician, tailor, and jazz musician, basically a child prodigy. So the daughter of the village weaver and a retired trumpeter won't mess around when it comes to business. As a child prodigy, her work ethic and management skills quickly earned the respect of her superiors, rewarding her with the coolest job opportunities of any teenager in the region. You might find her tending to the flames in the local desalination plant or working backstage in the village theater to make sure the lighting is just right. She'll usually kick back at the Queen Bean after her shifts, but don't worry, she knows how to be home before the sun disappears. You might have a little trouble sleeping if you happen to be her neighbor, though. The flare of her trumpet blasts in evening fanfare when her father makes her practice. Her free nights are spent meticulously sewing to bring her friends' fashion designs to life. So she kind of does a little bit of everything and is pretty good at it. Our next character is Clara Secco, an athlete, daredevil, and musician. And his instrument is the cello, which is all his soundtracks are related to string instruments. Well, Renee's are brass instruments, so I tend to write like excited poppy jazz for her. And Lucas is flute, so it's like calming, floaty music that makes you feel dreamy and flying. Yeah, I forgot to mention those. Sorry. So back to Claris. He's an athlete, daredevil, and musician. The son of the village chief is surprisingly laid back in spite of his father's expectations, taking a liking to breaking as many rules as possible. Despite this rebellious energy, he upholds a charismatic aura. You'll find yourself beguiled by his cunning eloquency. Regardless of the lack of his depth perception, he is quite agile. You might catch him scaling the walls of the village clock tower or leaping into the waters of the shadowed understory, catching a glimpse at the creatures below. Needless to say, the sunset curfew has been broken too many times. He often performs duet on stage with a skilled harpist. The rich, dark tone of his cello glides over the night, seeming to awaken the whispers of souls that passed long ago. So his music is like kind of grieving and mourning, although he seems like a happy daredevil, like cool dude who doesn't feel anything. But a lot of his music is pretty solemn orchestral strings. So our next character is Expexis Junetti Saipo. She has a very fancy name because her mom was very extra and had great expectations of her. So Expexis is a dancer, musician, and fashion designer. She plays the harp, and the daughter of the village chief council advisor and the instrument craftsman hopes to live up to the expectations of her political and operatic mother, as her namesake suggests. A natural beauty trained in the classic arts, she captivated attention and made a name for herself as the village theater's harpist. Of course, she'd prefer to be known by her more straightforward middle name, which is Junie. You might find her tending to her homegrown garden, carefully frolicking along the Llyona vibes, or adorning the gentle pluck of her harp strings with a nourishing soprano voice. Fully supported by her parents, she creates brilliant nature-inspired fashion designs, hoping to start a new industry for trade with the Ark Dwellers. However, this apparent aura of success does seem to make her feel entitled to bending the rules. So a lot of her music is very happy and bright and just frolicky harp music. And then our last character for what I'm focusing on for my soundtrack is named Javan Jarin, and he's a barista, musician, and aspiring physicist. His instrument is the guitar and also uses a lot of electronic synths and very textured percussion noises like clockwork. So he is the youngest employee at the Queen Bean Cafe, and they spend their nights dreaming of the shattered space beyond the sky. They know that humanity's soaring mechanical beasts probably wouldn't be reinvented during their lifetime, but that won't thwart them from pursuing the physical sciences. You might find them in the grand clock tower after the barista shift, making repairs under the apprenticeship of the village mechanic. Running a cafe with their single mother proves to be quite exhausting, so listen carefully during the long evenings for the perfectly timed strumming and percussive strikes of guitar strings as they release their tension through gloved fingers. Weary of their third eye, some treated them as an outcast in their youth, but it's assured that they bear no ill omen. So if you notice, all of these characters have like special eye designs. This character has a third eye. This character has changing multicolor eyes. This one has one white eye with markings on it. These are orange ring eyes. This is hard to see, but it's the same picture I drew over here with like the dots in the eyes. This was actually not inspired by Naruto, as some people may think. It was inspired by Homestuck webcomic, where some characters have special eye designs for like their superpowers and stuff. But I really liked that design aspect, so I kind of made my own version of it. All right. So, okay, let's go over the music and why exactly this band is called ReversalRain. So when I was writing music back in middle school, I would often get stuck and not know how to write the next section of a song. So I'm like, how about I just write the song backwards at a point where it just reflects the first half of the piece? So I started doing this a lot, and my songs kind of sound the same if you put them through a reverse noise generator and like just reverse what was already there, because I added like a reflection point. And this is called retrograde compositional technique, I found out later. But I really love the idea of things reflecting over mirrors and like surfaces of water. So that's why I chose the name Reversal Rain, and I also like the rain. And they also live in a rainforest for these characters. So there's a lot of water themes going on and more symbolism in the story, which I will not spoil. It is a work in progress. So with one of the main themes, it's called Wind Up Storm, and I've used the leitmotif from the song a lot of times in different versions. So I chose to use a reverse version of the piano part for the opening theme of this story. And then on top of that, I chose to make all the instruments for the different characters play their leitmotifs going forward on top of the same chord progression, so it like harmonizes with it. So then when you reverse that song backwards, it plays so that only the piano is going forward while all the instruments for the different characters are going backwards. And there's like a really cool reflective effect, so I'll play that back and forth if this hopefully works correctly. So here is the opening theme. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I hope you guys like that. But I did want to show what it sounds like reverse, and you might recognize it as the song that's on my music box, because I did like create some games with this and like use my soundtrack in multiple arrangements. Oh, no, it's playing again. Next. Oh, how do I full screen this again? I think it stopped presenting. 1 second. Okay, that's better. Okay, so this one doesn't have the animation, but it would just be the other video reverse. But let's just take a listen to see like what it sounds like when it's played the other way around, and you'll see the other instruments are going backwards while the dreamy kind of disorienting like reverse sound is just piano going forward. And I really like having that dreamy effect in my music, so. So I don't know if we want to play the other one again, but you could see how it's literally just a reverse mirror image of the first song. And I really like to experiment with different music effects like that. Like the first one had these growling monster noises, and I experimented with sound design by using really loose bass guitar strings and just rattling them against the bass, while my friend also contributed groaning monster noises, and we mixed all of those together. So I guess I could skip to that part and just show the sound design of that area. Oh, sorry, okay. Yeah. Sorry, okay. But that was basically like the end of my presentation, but I can still like go to this part to talk about it like in person. Oh yeah, my mouth was too far from the mic. Okay. So the main theme is called Wind Up Storm. And oh, I had it in the other music box over there. So, okay, I don't think I could grab it. But, we'll just go to the game demonstration I have of it because I don't have the scroll with me at the moment. I ended up arranging a lot of my leitmotifs to make like a mini game to kind of go over the story, which is a demo is here. And then I would be playing it on the music box. But let's see. Yes. So that's just the intro of the game. Do not walk into these because they hurt you. I'm not going to go through the whole game, but I just wanted to show the use of the music box in the song. And if you just wait here, it'll change to the next song, which then I can play on the music box. But that's the same main theme that I showed from the previous two animations. Okay. And then let's go over here now, because I forgot the scroll. I was really inspired by Detective Biren and Winter Gatan to use music boxes in my music, which is why I added it to like bring kind of haunting vibe to my trailer animations and also do nice video game music for my game. But here's an example of the next soundtrack song that plays. Let me turn this around to show on the camera better. I just installed a music box on the back of this thrift store piano that I found. Okay, and let me explain why these are actually colored. I wanted to decorate more instruments to fit the aesthetic of my band, and I've built like a couple of original instruments. This one, if I turn it that way to the camera, all of the notes correspond to a single character, while the middle C's are like my logo. Oh, it's a bit overexposed. But yeah. So I have synesthesia, which is a phenomenon where you associate things between the different senses. Like some people can say, oh, they can smell colors or that kind of thing. I actually don't have it with music and color, but I have it with letters and numbers and color. So the way I learned piano and instruments for myself was to color the notes the way that I would see the color of the letter, and it helped me learn things easier. And then I thought that this would give a good visual demonstration for how I see music notes. And then also, the great thing about it is like the colors of the first 6 letters of the alphabet for me are the colors of the rainbow. So it fits perfectly with my character color scheme and like makes a nice visual. And that's not something I chose. It's just part of like how my brain sees synesthesia. But I just thought that was a cool coincidence, and it makes a nice pattern. Yeah. Let me go to one of the next scrolls. These music box scrolls are divided into eighth notes and quarter notes, but there are also chromatic notes in here that are not in the key of C. And I thought about what if I use those, because most people don't really use the notes that don't belong in the key. and go beyond what this graph is saying and add triplets in to do like swing jazz. So I came up with this piece. It was originally written for jazz combo, but I found out how to transcribe it to a music box. This is called Dewdrop Dance. So I added a lot of grace notes and little like chromatic flares in it, as well as I think secondary dominants are probably in there somewhere. I don't quite remember. But yeah, I just wanted to show those music boxes, and that's one of the songs that plays when you win in this mini game. And I hope to like expand the game and the world to be more than what I'm showing right now, because this is just what I've had of the project up till this point, just working on it in my free time. And then a new recent project I've been doing is working on building like bird-shaped ocarinas, because I have pet birds, and I thought it'd be really cute to make custom instruments that are like shaped like animals. And this 3D printing ocarina file, I got it off of Thingiverse, I think, and it was like a creative license where you're allowed to reuse and remix it. So I just added wings and a tail and a head. I could pull up the creator later. But I will say that the body itself is not mine for the ocarina part. I just decorated it. And I painted these myself, and they're cute. Yeah, so these actually work. And then there was another instrument I made that was a combination of a pan flute and a harp, where I tried to get the harp strings to resonate inside the pan flute tubes by like calculating what the resonance of the tube was, but for some reason, the calculations were off and the thing kept going out of tune. So I moved the harp strings outside of the tubes because apparently that made it easier to play the tubes, because it was hard to play a pan flute when there's something in the middle interfering with it. I do not have that on me right now because we donated it to our university after submitting it for a project, but building more like unique instruments that are like customized for my band is something that I want to go in as a future direction. I know my work's kind of all over the place since I love doing this and that, but I think ReversalRain is just the best way I have to like integrate all of my passions for like music and characters and art by just making them relate to each other, like correlating this theme with this character, this instrument with another character. So, yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys take the time to like listen to my band, and thank you for like listening to my presentation. Yeah. This is my first time like giving a speech like this, so I was not that good at it, but I appreciate you guys being patient with me.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, where do I put this thing? I think so. Hmm? Oh yeah, questions, sure. Anyone? Oh, wait, can you record the questions, Hector? Hector, okay.
Okay. For one, I was interested in how you've created like the map of the world.
Yes, okay.
Because it doesn't look hand painted, and I wanted to see that.
Yeah, give me a moment. Wait, don't show the screen yet, because there's like some files in here that I want to keep hidden. But let's see. Map. So I did a lot of research on topography. So I went to like this site with a database of topographies of the actual world. and then took this data of like how deep the water is, how high every elevation was, and I entered in the parameters for how high I wanted the sea level to rise in my world, which is a future version of Earth, although I don't really want to state that because it's supposed to be something the audience kind of figures out if they like look deeper into the details, but I'll tell you guys. So after all that, they have like this trace out of the world. And then I think, yeah, I worked on like painting over that trace out. So this part is hand painted, although I had the layout of the actual like topography and geography underneath it, but I painted on top of it. So it is like hand drawn, but I did do research on like the real world elevations and what it actually would look like if this happened to the Earth. Yeah. And then so the story is located here in South America because there's something called an antipode, which is what is called when you have the exact opposite of the globe to one region. So the place that the debris crashed down on was mainly the Philippines and Asia area, and the exact opposite of those coordinates is Brazil, which is why I picked that location for the story. And I think it was quite arbitrary, other than the fact that when I first planned out this story, I drew out a world map of where I thought the regions would be, and it wasn't supposed to be on Earth, but I always thought of these characters living in the southwest hemisphere of wherever I drew the map, and in our Earth, that corresponded to the area of Brazil. So that's why I chose that, and then calculated the antipode of where the impact would land, because it would make sense for only the opposite side of the world to be most likely to survive an impact like this, while everything surrounding it is kind of dead. So I put it through a 3D globe generator once you like draw these maps, and I drew some clouds as well, although I can't really find where I put that file. They would just project it onto different globes, and then that's how I got this animation. But before that, okay, I don't think the file is listed here. It was just a circular globe, so I had to like repaint over it to clean up all the details from the 3D render, and then add the little indent into the globe and fix all of the like the smoke coming off of the Earth and everything. So while this is like, it's partially like through a generator, but I drew the thing that got mapped onto it. Yeah, and like did many research. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, sure.
So I've looked at your page on Webtoon.
Oh, okay.
And I was wondering, since you've created a lot of music for for ReversalRain, how about on Webtoon there's like this function that plays sound while you're reading the comic. So have you thought about getting that?
I think at the time I uploaded that comic, which was around 2019, I don't think that feature existed yet. So I've been trying to host all of my stuff on mainly Instagram, since that does allow for multimedia stuff. Because I like how Instagram lets you put videos and like a lot of panels for comic stuff. Like, and then even if you post photo posts, they now have an ability to let you put your own songs on there as long as they're uploaded in the database, which I do through like DistroKid, is my music distributor. And then I could do that for Webtoons because I just didn't know that the option existed, but I'm not sure if it's for free users. And then I'm still working on the webcomic right now, so what I have published is just the first chapter, and I'm like in the middle of illustrating the rest, but because I mentioned that I'm in like grad school and working full time, I haven't had that much time to like do it, and I'm gonna work on trying to do more of that, so it'll be up there when it's up there. Yeah, but thank you for like checking it out and your interest. Yeah, anything else? Feel free to ask.
Yeah. Okay, then I think we are done.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation, and we are looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Power of Phaser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hector, let's go.